Family Church, this is Michael Montalvo. I'm the Body Life Minister. And Apostle Paul has a word for us from Colossians 3. I'd like for us to lean into this passage of Scripture. He says this, "Therefore, as God's chosen people, holy and dearly loved, clothe yourselves with compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. Bear with each other and forgive whatever grievances you may have against one another. Forgive as the Lord has forgiven you. And above all these virtues, put on love, which binds them together in perfect unity." If you're like me, it's so easy just to skim over some of the most important words in this passage of Scripture, and that's this: God's chosen people. What does it mean to you to be chosen by God? How about this? He calls us holy. What does that personally mean to you when God calls you holy? And for me, the most profound statement in verse 12, Apostle Paul says that we're dearly loved by God. What significance does that have for you today? What significance does that have for you during this time of COVID-19? I don't know how your week is going, but I've had some moments where I haven't lived out the pivot that Paul has for us in this scripture. He pivots off of the precious promises of God and says, because of all these things that God has spoken over you, put on compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, patience, forbearance, forgiveness, and love, that virtue that binds them all together. You know, the Colossians were known for manufacturing clothing. Hence the wonderful illustration of a wardrobe. God says, this is what your wardrobe should look like: compassion, humility, gentleness, kindness, forbearance, and then that all-purpose piece of clothing that we can't do without, love. If you're anything like me, you have those moments where you're anything but loving or forgiving or kind or compassionate. And this is what God is calling us to. But those things are lived out in the proximity to other people. When you're in relationship with others, that's where these virtues of the Spirit come out. It's so hard to live into that if we're not claiming these promises from God about how He views us during this delicate time in all seasons of life. He views us as chosen, holy, and dearly loved. So my message to you is just simple, Bamwell Church. Lean into these precious promises of God, of who He calls you to, what your identity is, and then you can live out these virtues of the Spirit. May the Lord bless you and keep you.